Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Espresso with me, Darius Chauskas. Today is the 24th of July 2018. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday morning session where we're going to have a look at a few instruments that I believe are quite interesting at the moment. So yep, but before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content of this webinar does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Also, just a very quick reminder of our JFD Brokers website and specifically the JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. We throw out different trading technical analysis, and of course we produce our daily report, daily analysis. So yep, feel free to check us out, guys, and I believe you can find something useful here for yourselves. But for now, let's have a look at the charts. So the first one I want to touch on is the FTSE 100. Now, the FTSE is in a very interesting spot here. This is a daily chart, and we can see that it is now stuck here between these two lines. So this resistance line here, that's around the 77.10 approximately there, and this upside support line here that has been running since around just the end of June, so around the 27th, 26th of June. So at the moment, of course, we're going to keep an eye on this one. Certainly, as you can see here, I've got some good level of potential areas of support highlighted here as well. So basically, it means that even if we get a nice break here below this short-term upside support line, still this index could actually find good support either initially around the 75.45, and then maybe if that doesn't hold, then could be this next one, the 75.10, so approximately there. So this would probably, if the index would get rejected here and then we would see another push higher, this would actually confirm a nice range here, a nice 200-point range, so approximately like that, something. So yep, guys, keep an eye on it, keep an eye on these levels, but especially keep an eye on this 77.10. And now if we do get a reversal back to the upside, now this is where it could become more interesting. So I'll put a 4-hour chart here, and if we see a nice break here above this 77.10, now this could confirm actually a push higher, and we could confirm a potential move higher here towards this 77.95 mark. Now this acted as a very nice area of resistance here around the 14th of June, and we could end up pushing towards that level here, and we could maybe see a nice test. So, but for that, of course, we would need to see a nice move higher above the 77.10. So eventually you could position yourselves for something like this, like approximately entering a trade here somewhere around above the 77.10, and yep, of course aiming for the 77.95 mark. But of course, don't forget about your stop loss. You could eventually keep a tight stop loss, maybe somewhere here, but to be honest, you'll be the judge. You decide on where you want to keep your stop loss. If you want to be more aggressive, then you can go for a smaller stop, or if you want actually you're more cautious trader and you could actually go for a slightly bigger stop. But in that case, probably it would be advisable to kind of try and maybe aim for higher levels. So in that case, you would need to see a nice move here above the 77.95 in order to have a nice risk-reward ratio. So for now, guys, of course, keep an eye on these levels. Certainly, let me just get rid of this for now. Keep an eye on these levels, the 77.10, and of course this upside support line, which probably could get tested as well if we see a nice drop here below the 200 EMA, which we see here as the black line on the 4-hour chart. So keep an eye on it, guys. We this could play out nicely. Now, one of the commodities that I really wanted to touch on, guys, is the US oil, so WTI. And looking at the daily chart, we can see that we had a nice rejection here from this upside support line that has been running here, and now it's not far from this key area of support at around 67.15 mark. So a very important area to watch, guys. We can see that it acted as a nice area of support here recently, actually last week to be more specific. So keep an eye on this 67.15, guys. I mean, if we get a break here below, this could confirm a further decline here, maybe even actually going towards this 63-65 point area approximately there, which currently kind of almost coincides with this 200 EMA here on the daily chart. And like I said, yeah, it could be a very nice trade here if we, like I said, if we see a nice break here below the 67.15 mark. Certainly at this point, don't kind of rush into this yet, because like I said, we need to see a confirmation break here first before we get comfortable with the downside. But for now, because it's kind of stuck here between these two key levels, the 67.15 and this level up here, the 70.20, for us, we will be very cautious here, because we could even actually see a reversal back to the upside here, testing this upside support line from underneath. And actually now this is of course the area where it would test the 70.20 mark as well. So but eventually, if that gets broken, and if the commodity stays above this level, then, well, I mean, this could be a nice confirmation for a potential move higher. So that's why, guys, I'm saying be very cautious with this one. Wait for a nice break here, either through the upper side here, through the 70.20, or through the downside around the 67.15 mark. Certainly, because like I said, and we could maybe see, if let's say if this bounces back up here, this could kind of be a similar scenario that we saw here in the beginning of June, where we also broke it to the downside. We tested the upside support line, it moved lower, but to be honest, it never kind of went below the 63.55 area, and then just reversed back up and moved higher. So that's why be very cautious with this one. Certainly we could, like I said, we could play out nicely here with a nice short trade, but if let's say if you've entered a position here, be very careful, because if it moves lower, I would probably a good recommendation could be here to put your stop loss straight away just before the entry price, in case this reverses like this, like we saw here in June, in case this reverses back to the upside and moves higher. Okay, let's quickly jump into one index. So the dollar index, this is the one that I want to show you, and certainly you can see that we were moving higher here. We had a nice bounce from this support line, the short-term support line that has been running since 15th of February. We had a nice bounce here around the 18th, 17th of April. Since then we moved higher, of course, and now we're kind of stuck in this little range here between these key areas, between the 95.55 and this lower side here, the 93.75. Certainly we could argue this could be a nice area as well. It is, of course. You can see that it was tested twice here in June, in the first half of June, and that area is around the 93.20. So we keep that area just as a backup in case, like I said, in case this 93.75 gets broken to the downside. So for now, of course, keep an eye on it. Certainly looking at this 4-hour chart, just closer up, from the closer perspective, if we take of course, if a support line here and draw it, we can see that, yep, it continues to climb higher. The index continues to climb higher, and we could maybe see another test of this upper side here, the 95.55, but that is only, of course, if we can continue moving higher here and we break the 50 and the 21 EMAs here on the 4-hour chart. So if we break that zone, we could end up pushing higher, initially, of course, towards this little area here. Let me just quickly mark that, towards this little area right here at around 94 mark. Nice beautiful number. And if that gets broken as well, I mean, this could confirm a potential, like I said, a potential move higher towards this 95.55 area. So for now, of course, be very cautious, keep an eye on it. Of course, keep an eye on this area first, the EMAs, the 50 and the 21, and of course slightly higher above that, keep an eye on this 94 mark, which also could act as a very nice area of resistance. Let's have a look at one more pair, and that was the euro dollar. Now we do have some important data coming out today, and from the eurozone. So we got the PMIs, so we might expect a bit of maybe volatility coming in during the release, and probably the recommendation here is not to trade the release, just see the reaction after, and yep, try to maybe capture something after the news comes out. So for now, certainly, as you can see by the amount of lines here that I've got, we are stuck in a range here. Certainly, we're stuck in a bigger range here between the 118,400 and the 115,100, but we're also stuck here in this little slightly smaller range. Let me just put a 4-hour chart for that one quickly, and we are stuck here between these key levels, the 1.17450 mark, and this area right here, approximately here, the 116,100. So of course this 116,100 now could be a bit more arguable. We could start maybe looking at this level more, so the 115.75 mark approximately there, but like I said, for now it seems that it wants to continue moving lower. This level that I was just talking about, the 116,100, could be a good one to watch, but first, of course, keep an eye on this little area here at around 116.25 mark. So this could potentially work out as a nice area of support initially, but if that gets broken, then yep, keep an eye on the 116,100, and we could, if that doesn't hold as well, I mean, it is opening the path towards this 115.75, which was the low here that we saw on Thursday last week. So keep an eye on it, guys. If suddenly this reverses back to the upside, for us to become more comfortable with the upside within this larger range, we would need to see a nice move here above the, let me just quickly mark that, and we would need to see a nice move above this level here, the 117.45 mark. So if we do get a nice break here above, I mean, we could start aiming for these higher levels, and yeah, it may eventually maybe towards this upper side of the bigger range. Right, let's jump into quickly another pair that I really wanted to touch on quickly, and that's Euro Swedish Crown. Now, certainly just to look at the daily chart, how it's developing overall, it continues to climb higher. We've got this upside support line here that has been running since around the 9th of October last year, but now it continues to create slightly steeper support lines, and the one to watch here is this one, of course, this short-term upside support line. Let me just put a 4-hour chart here quickly, and we'll look at this one in more detail. And certainly this is the one to watch for now. We are stuck here above this line, and it continues to kind of act as an indication of, you know, the direction where the pair is trying to head. We do have a very good potential area of resistance around here, so probably it's not really a level here, it's more of a zone. So something like this, guys, I mean, keep an eye on this little zone right there, and of course that is approximately around the 10.40 mark, something like that. So keep an eye on it. If we get a nice break here above, we could eventually maybe start positioning ourselves for some higher levels, and specifically maybe for this level right here, this high that we saw here on the in the beginning of July, around the 2nd of July. So, and that's around the 10.475, something like that. So a very good potential area of resistance. So a possible trade could be seen something like this, where we could, let's say, enter on a break here above this zone and aim for this 10.475 mark. Certainly have your stop loss in place. You be the judge again where to place your stop loss. You of course calculate your own risk, and we could potentially, like I said, position ourselves for a possible trade here, aiming for the 10.475 mark, but only of course on a break here above this above this area, above this zone, this potential area, the resistance zone. And one last pair that I really wanted to touch on is the Aussie USD, and for that one I'll put it quickly a daily chart. So now we're seeing that the Aussie dollar is stuck here within this range. For now, of course, we're going to stay quite neutral on this one, but nevertheless, we are keeping an eye on these levels, these potential breakout levels. So if we do get a continuation here to the downside, and we see a break here below the 0.7310 mark, now this is where it could become more interesting for the bears, and we could see the pair dropping a little bit lower here towards some other key potential areas of support. So certainly initially we would keep an eye on this little level right here at around 0.7245 mark, and slightly below that we do have the 0.7165 mark by the lows that we saw here in December 2016. But that's only, of course, in the scenario if we get a break here below the 0.7310. On the upside, well, as you probably understood, we need to see initially a nice break here above the 0.7445, and then we could aim for these higher levels. So for now, keep an eye on this, keep an eye on these two key areas, and let's see what it wants to do with those. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you found it useful, and if you want to join me later on at my traders tea time at 13:15 GMT, 14:15 British Summer Time. But for now, thank you very much and have a good day. Bye bye.